It was a stormy night when I arrived at the old inn. The rain pounded against the windows like angry fists, and the wind howled through the broken shutters. I had no reservations, but the sign said, "Welcome, all travelers." Flickering in the dim lightning, the lobby was empty, except for a single desk. Behind it, a woman in black sat perfectly still, her eyes dark and hollow. She didn't move when I entered. "Is there a room available?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. She nodded, slowly, and handed me a key. "The room at the end of the hall," she whispered. "Do not open the last door." I laughed nervously. "Which door? There's only one room here." Her eyes didn't leave mine. "You'll see." The hall was long and narrow, lined with cracked mirrors and faded wallpaper. Each step echoed loudly, the sound bouncing off the walls in a way that made my stomach turn. I reached the room at the very end. The door was slightly ajar. The key in my hand trembled. Inside, the room was empty, except for an old rocking chair that moved slightly, as if someone had just stood up. Then I noticed it, footprints in the dust, leading from the chair to the corner. And then, stopping. No footprints led out. A chill ran down my spine. I backed away. That's when I heard it, a soft whisper. "Welcome. You're the last guest." I spun around. No one was there. And then the door slammed shut behind me. I could barely breathe. The door slammed shut, but I was too frozen to move. My heart pounded like a drum in my ears. The footprints in the dust. They hadn't moved. But I felt it. Something watching me from the shadows. The rocking chair creaked again. Slowly, ever so slowly, it moved back and forth, as if inviting me to come closer. My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob. Locked. Then the whispers returned. Softer, but clearer this time. "Sit. Stay. Don't leave." A cold wind swept through the room, though all the windows were closed. My breath turned visible. The shadows in the corner began to shift. Shapes. Moving. Almost human, but wrong. Limbs bent at unnatural angles. Fingers stretched too long. I stumbled backward and hit the wall. That's when I saw it, a figure emerging from the darkness. Tall, thin, pale as the moonlight, with hollow black eyes that reflected nothing. Its mouth curved into a smile far too wide, stretching beyond normal human limits. It tilted its head slowly, watching me. I ran for the bed, desperate to put distance between us. But the entity moved faster than I could. Not running, gliding. Every step I took, it mirrored, keeping just enough space to watch me panic. "Why are you here?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. It tilted its head again, whispering with a voice like scraping metal. "You are the last guest. Now you belong." I screamed. The lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness for a moment. When they returned, the entity was closer. Half a step away. Its smile now more menacing, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Then I saw the walls, the shadows forming faces. Silent, screaming faces. They were trapped, like me. I realized. This inn didn't just host guests. It consumed them. And I was next. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. Every instinct screamed to run, but the entity blocked every exit. Its movements were fluid, almost like smoke, gliding closer with an unnatural grace. The whispers grew louder, echoing from the walls. "You cannot leave. You are ours." My eyes darted around the room. The shadows now shifted independently, forming figures that reached toward me with distorted, skeletal hands. Each face was twisted in silent screams, pleading, or warning me. Desperate, I grabbed a chair and swung it at the entity. It passed through it as though the chair were made of smoke. I screamed, realizing nothing in this room obeyed the rules of reality. The entity's smile widened, stretching impossibly across its face, eyes locking onto mine with dark hunger. Its voice, low and metallic, echoed in my mind. "You came willingly, but now you belong." I stumbled backward, tripping over the rocking chair. I fell, hitting the floor hard. The shadows immediately surged forward, wrapping around my legs, cold and suffocating. Panic clawed at my chest. I tried to crawl toward the door, but the floor seemed endless, stretching unnaturally. My own hands felt heavier with every movement, as if something invisible was holding me down. Then, suddenly, I saw it, a door that hadn't been there before. The old woman from the lobby stood behind it, her hollow eyes fixed on me. "There is a way, but only if you face it," she whispered. Before I could react, the entity raised its long, shadowy arms. The shadows recoiled, pulling me into its grip. Its smile grew wider. I could feel it, inside me, trying to take over, rewriting my thoughts, stealing my fear. I closed my eyes and remembered the woman's words, "Face it." Gathering every ounce of courage, I looked directly at the entity. Not away, not past it, at it. The shadows screamed, a sound so deafening it nearly broke me. But for the first time, the entity faltered. Its smile twitched, eyes narrowing in confusion. I clenched my fists. I would not let it claim me. Not yet. The shadows tightened around me like iron chains, cold and suffocating. Every step I tried to take toward the mysterious door felt like I was moving through water. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but I refused to surrender. The entity floated closer, its smile wider than any human should bear. Its elongated fingers reached toward me, brushing my shoulder. The touch sent icy fire down my spine. Every nerve in my body screamed for me to run. Yet I felt trapped, as if reality itself had warped. Then I remembered the old woman's words, "Face it." I tore my gaze from the entity and looked at the shadows. They weren't just dark, they were fragments of the inn's past victims, trapped in fear, replaying their last moments. Their silent screams merged into one horrifying chorus. I realized the truth. The inn didn't just host travelers, it fed on them. Their fear gave it power. And I was next. Summoning every ounce of courage, I lunged for the glowing door. The shadows shrieked, clawing at my ankles, pulling me backward. I kicked and punched, feeling phantom hands grip my arms and legs. The entity blocked the threshold, its presence a wall of darkness. It tilted its head, whispering in a voice that reverberated inside my skull. "No one leaves the last guest alive." The room seemed to spin. Reality twisted. The walls stretched and twisted, the ceiling sinking toward me. I could feel my own body resisting me, wanting to give in to the entity's will. I stumbled, falling to my knees. But as I looked into the entity's eyes, I remembered the woman's warning, "Fear is your cage, only courage frees you." I stood, trembling, and shouted, "I am not afraid." A sudden explosion of light filled the room. Shadows screamed, recoiling into corners. The entity shrieked, its smile flickering like a broken flame. I charged through the threshold. The door slammed behind me, separating me from the entity. I collapsed on the other side, gasping, drenched in sweat and trembling violently. For a moment, silence. The inn appeared empty now. The hallway stretched endlessly, doors slightly ajar. I didn't know if I had escaped, or if I had entered a new layer of its trap. I stumbled into a corridor I had never seen before. The walls were lined with hundreds of old portraits, each face pale and twisted in silent terror. Some faces had hollow eyes. Others were blurred, like they had been erased by something malevolent. A cold draft brushed my neck. The whispers returned, hundreds of voices now, overlapping, chaotic. "You can't leave. You're ours. Last guest." I ran. The corridor seemed endless, the floor creaking beneath each step. Every door I passed rattled violently. But when I looked inside, the rooms were empty, except for shadows that flickered like dying flames. At the far end, I found a massive, arched doorway. Beyond it, the heart of the inn, a cavernous hall, the ceiling lost in darkness. In the center, a massive mirror rose from floor to ceiling. Its surface rippled like black water. And inside, dozens of figures, trapped. Their eyes screamed for release. The entity appeared beside it, towering, its grin impossibly wide. It gestured to the mirror. "Your fear feeds me. Your courage frees you. If you survive." I realized the truth. The inn wasn't just a building. It was alive. The mirrors were its body. The shadows, its limbs. And the victims, its sustenance. I gritted my teeth, ignoring the terror clawing at my mind. I lunged at the mirror, throwing everything I had, fists, furniture, screams, anything to break it. The entity tried to stop me, but I kept going. The mirror cracked, first in tiny lines, then shattering violently. The figures inside screamed, rushing toward me, but instead of harming me, they pushed the entity back. A blinding light exploded, and the entity shrieked, twisting, distorting, trying to flee. I closed my eyes, praying this was the end. When I opened them, the hall was gone. I was outside the inn, rain pouring, lightning flashing, gasping for breath. The inn stood silently, doors closed, no sign of life. But deep down, I knew. It wasn't gone. Just waiting, watching, hungry for the next guest. The rain soaked me through as I stumbled away from the inn. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the empty streets. I thought I had escaped, thought I had survived. But the whispers followed me. Faint, distant, growing louder in my mind. I stopped. My reflection in a puddle caught my eye. At first, it looked normal. But then, my reflection smiled. Wide. Too wide. Not me. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. My reflection stepped out of the puddle. Its movements were fluid, unnatural. Its eyes glowed black, teeth gleaming in that horrifying smile. You escaped the inn. But you can't escape me, it hissed. I ran. The streets twisted around me, unfamiliar. Every turn brought me back to the inn, as if it had grown, reshaped, following me. Shadows flitted at the corners of my vision, whispering my name. I reached my home, slammed the door, and locked every lock. I collapsed against the wall, trembling. For a moment, silence. Then I saw it, my reflection in the window, perfectly mimicking my movements. But smiling. Not my smile. Its eyes black as night. I realized the truth. The entity didn't need the inn. It didn't need mirrors. It could follow, wait, and take over. And now, it had me. I screamed, but the sound didn't come out. My reflection raised its hand. Slowly, impossibly, touching mine. A cold, searing wave ripped through my body. My vision blurred. My mind screamed. And then, nothing. I opened my eyes. I was staring at the world, but not through my own eyes. My reflection now lived outside. I was trapped inside my own skin, a prisoner of the last guest. The entity smiled. Wide, hungry, waiting for the next traveler to enter the inn. The night was far from over.